All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our second episode of the Summer to School series in partnership with UHealth, Jackson Children's Care, as well as Jackson Health and Miami Moms Blog. I will be your host and moderator tonight. My name is Sierra Bragan, and I am the founder of Miami Moms Blog. We are Miami's premier parenting resource. It's our heart and desire to produce encouraging, helpful, equipping resources for you. And so we have just been so thrilled about this series, and that is going to continue all summer. We were together 2 weeks ago talking about the topic of summer and COVID-19 and how do we make this transition. And it was so well attended and so well received that we're just thrilled to keep it coming for you. So this week, we're going to be talking about burn safety, swim safety, probably things that you think, I know all there is to know about that. I'm a parent. I've got, that sixth sense and my gut feeling. I'm prepared and I'm ready. But I'll say as we were preparing for this call and just some of the things that I was learning and studying beforehand that our panelists are going to share with us tonight, really taught me a few things and gave me some important things to think about as we head into the summer. So I hope the time tonight will be encouraging for you. I'm going to go ahead and say that if you have a question, we've received some questions via Instagram from our audiences, so we're going to do our best to get to all of those. But if during the presentations you have a question, there is a question box, a Q&A box there at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to drop that question in, and some lovely ladies from Jackson who are joining us tonight will help us in fielding those, and we'll do our very best to cover them all. So without further ado, I'm super excited to introduce you to tonight's panelists. We're going to do things a little different tonight. So if you were with us last week, it was a bit of a conversation, which we're going to have again, but we're going to begin with a presentation. So each one of our panelists is going to give a presentation that's going to be wonderful information that I'm sure will track some questions for you. So first up, we have Louis DeRosa Jr. Louis, we're so glad to have you tonight. Louis is the Outreach and Injury Prevention Coordinator for Jackson Health System's Rider Trauma Center and the Miami Burn Center. So he's been there for more than 10 years. His trauma career began there and in the burn ICU for several years, and then finally transitioning now into the industry-leading trauma resuscitation unit at Ryder. So I think that's an interesting fact that maybe some of our families, listening in tonight may not know, as just what exactly is happening in Miami and how renowned it really is. And so Louis is a part of that. So I'm excited he's bringing his expertise. He is also a licensed paramedic in Florida, and so he leads multiple educational initiatives. He's also a member of the Federal Disaster Response Team. So he's worked when, groups were deployed for Hurricane Harvey, and he's very active in teaching the Stop the Bleed, which is a certification to healthcare providers in the community. So he can tell us more about that as well. But I think he's really passionate. If you follow him on Instagram, you should if you don't, but he's at The Trauma Guy. But, he says that all injuries can really be prevented. So some of the things that he'll share with us tonight, he's going to tell us how we as parents can help prevent these injuries from affecting our family. So Louis, we're so excited to have you. And how about we get started with your portion, and then I'm going to take a minute after Louis speaks, but I'm excited to introduce Jimena Nunez. She is the Director of Communications at the Children's Trust. So if you are a family in Miami, you are probably well familiar with the Children's Trust. If you're not, you should be, because they have amazing resources, initiatives for families. Jimena has actually been in charge of some of their newest initiatives, including the Parent Club, the Book Club. She also oversees all of the comprehensive marketing. And if you're familiar with Stay Home Miami, we have Jimena to thank for that. It's an amazing website that they created quickly to be a resource for families here in Miami who now are faced with staying at home. So she's going to tell us more about that in her presentation. But Jimena, we're also excited to have you tonight. We can't wait to hear from you. Awesome. Well, Louis, let's get started. Talk to us about burn safety. Let's start there.
I want to thank everybody for being here. This is awesome. I mean, I have my shades on because it is Miami, right? So I had to get ready for that, protect myself from the sun. Also, I'm not at work. I know I have the trauma center behind me. I'm not at work, so I don't need my mask right now. I'm actually at home, so I don't have my N95 mask.
But watch out for that helicopter coming. That could be an issue.
Yeah, watch out for the helicopter. So I appreciate the introduction. Sierra, I'm honored to be a part of this panelist. I see you do a lot of stuff out there for moms. You actually forgot my most important job. I don't know if you mentioned it, but
I did forget it. Lewis is a dad. So we really want to hear from you because you're a dad.
I'm a dad times two. So I know your pain.
Awesome.
I know sometimes you're out there, you're hanging out, you're in a barbecue, you're lighting fireworks for 4th of July. You're just outside playing basketball with your kids, and you're fearful because things can happen. So and it could happen. So, but like I said, my experience is primarily in the trauma center and the burn center, and I've seen the craziest things can happen. So, but when you reverse engineer all those accidents, all those crazy cases of kids coming to the trauma center, of kids getting burned, when you reverse engineer what happened, it really could have been prevented. That at some point, there was a weakness in the chain, or a weak link, so to speak, and somebody got injured, whether it's a kid or an adult. So, today we're going to talk about some important topics, specifically geared towards South Florida, especially during this COVID time. It's very weird. Things are different. How do we kind of, have our kids play outside safely? How do they play with other kids? How do they go to the pool? Things like
That's
that.
right.
There's a big holiday coming up. It's one of the biggest holidays in this country. And
right.
And it's actually for the burn center and for the trauma center, specifically where I work. I'm at the Miami Burn Center, with Jackson Memorial, which I don't know if some people don't know this, but actually the Miami Burn Center is actually located in this trauma center right here. So the Miami Burn Center, the Ryder Trauma Center, they're together. So if you are ever burned, and hopefully you don't ever have to come by helicopter or by ambulance, but this is where they take you, so it's we have an open arms policy. If you are burned and you want to get your child looked at, or you want to get yourself looked at, you can walk in and we will take care of you, no questions asked. And you're seen by some of the best trauma surgeons, some of the best burn surgeons. In some cases, because we train with the Army, you're there with these Army forward surgical teams that are taking care of you. So it's really a special place, and it's in Miami's backyard, the best. I'm very proud to have my experience there. A majority of my career pretty much has been in the trauma unit, in the trauma ICU, in the burn ICU, so I've seen it, I've seen kind of the outcomes, and I've taken care of these patients. And I've always been very intrigued with, what happened? How did this kid get burned? How did this kid find his way into the kitchen and, put hot grease on himself, so, it's education like this, these kind of platforms, especially Sierra, your platform, Jimena, your platform, you guys are always educating. So this is really important. Anyways, I can go on and on and on and talk, but, Sierra, please.
We love it. Talk to us about burn safety.
Sierra, please stop me. So we're going to start with the basics. Okay. We're going to start with the basics. So, Ryder Trauma, Jackson, we're a burn center, we're ABA verified, we see a lot of different burns. Sometimes not all burns are that serious, right? They're not 2nd degree, 3rd degree. Sometimes they are just a 1st degree burn. A 1st degree burn for us is a sunburn. So some things to kind of, take into consideration, especially during these times, when you want to take your kid outside and the sun is very strong here, is, preventing burns or preventing sunburns. Some of the things you could do for that, and I know it's very obvious, and a lot of us know this, put hats on your kids, right? Before they go outside, protect them from that sun. Have them wear sunscreen, right? Have them put on sunglasses, right? Protect themselves from that strong sun, protect those very sensitive eyes. You want to watch the clock, because the sun is the strongest between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., right? So if you're
most of the day in Miami.
Yeah, the majority of the day. That's the time you go to South Beach, you're trying to get some sun. So I don't know if you can go back to that photo. Sometimes, your sunburn might be just a sunburn. It's very red. It could be taken care of at home. Usually it resolves in a couple of days. But sometimes if those burns evolve, that's our lingo in the burn center. When the burns evolve from a 1st degree, right, like a sunburn, sometimes they can evolve to a 2nd degree, which you see here in this picture where, you know, these people basically were in the sun for too long. And those are these fluid-filled blisters. Okay. We advise you
that
not
can
to.
even be days after, Lewis. Is that
Yes.
correct? Like that could be
Yeah,
days after.
it could be 24 hours, 48 hours. They basically evolve to a worse burn. You know, we recommend not to pop these blisters. One of the burn surgeons in the trauma center, Dr. Pisano, Dr. Schulman, they call these God's little Band-Aids. We do recommend you do get it seen by a specialist, whether you go to your closest ER. Obviously, we're going to recommend you come to the burn center. You could, like I said, you could walk into the Ryder Trauma Center. We'll take care of you. Anyway, so back to, sorry, my screen kind of like locked here, but so back to sun protection. You want to put on sunblock 30 minutes before you go outside. You want to put it on liberally to places that are exposed. And then more importantly, you want to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours, right? I know, like, I'm super guilty of that for my kids. I put it on before we go to the beach, and then I forget to put it on 2 hours later, or 3 hours later, or they go to the pool all day long, and sometimes it kind of washes off.
That's right. Set a timer on your iPhones. This is what I'm having to do because I forget, but it's an easy thing to forget.
You know, so sometimes you might have to, like I said, you might have to go seek medical treatment. If you do have a bad sunburn, we always recommend, you know, to, while you're home, you know, practice comfort measures, like, you know, you can cool your skin, you know, take a nice cold shower for, you know, put some creams on, some aloes and things like that. Obviously, the big thing is hydrate yourself. But again, if your child does become lethargic, is a little bit kind of not acting appropriate for his age, or develops a fever, please bring, you know, consult your pediatrician, your local ER, go seek medical treatment. All right, so
Louis, I hate to interrupt you. One thing, I know some of maybe those of you who are watching and just in the parent mom realm right now, there's a lot of talk around some mineral or, you know, proposed to be organic sunscreens. And I just want to tell our audience, we're not going to get into all that tonight, but we're coming up, we're going to get an expert, you know, maybe who that's more their field to talk on those subjects. So if you have questions about that, we just want to let you know, we're not going to necessarily get into that tonight. So yeah, read your labels on your sunscreen, but stay tuned in the future because we are going to address this topic in another webinar. So
I definitely heard about that, and I think you know, we have experts in the Poison Control Center that can definitely talk about that. Dr. Stevens, for one, is a colleague of mine. She's part of one of my coalitions for injury prevention, so we definitely could talk about that. All right, so the big one. What's the big one coming up? 4th of July? Fireworks? Yeah, fireworks, right?
Sparklers?
So sparklers, yeah, right? So firework injury, like in the trauma world, in the ER world, in the burn world, I mean, it's one of our busiest holidays or busiest shifts of the year. I know for sure, like working in the trauma resus area, you know, we saw a lot of children that would come in during these times, just with hand injuries, eye injuries, obviously burns, and it was all just preventable, you know, injuries that could have happened. Number one, one of the most important things is there's a lack of adult supervision when these happen. Of course, freak accidents can happen, but you know, some of these children weren't attended, weren't supervised, and you know, they're kids and they're curious and they want to, you know, light some fireworks, and then bad things happen.
That's right.
So, significantly, pretty much this year is a very special year because of COVID times, right? So normally we go out to public events, we enjoy the fireworks, they're kind of like held by professionals, but because all these public events are canceled because of COVID, you know, they're trying to decrease the spread. People are basically going to be taking their fireworks celebration in their own hands and performing and displaying the fireworks in their houses, in their neighborhoods. They're going to basically do it on their own. So the National Fire Protection Agency is actually vigorously against, you know, just the layperson lighting their own fireworks. Because kind of like not the myth, but, you know, the rumor is that, you know, some fireworks are safe if they're not professional fireworks. Hands down, the American Burn Association can back me on this. There's no such thing as a safe firework. They're all dangerous, even if they're professional or not. You know, so it's very significant this time of year. In 2017, about 13,000 people were treated for firework injury, right? Wow. 67% were treated in a 1 month period. Do you know what that 1 month period was? It was
Right
June
here,
6th.
right now.
We're in it, baby. This is the hot zone. All right, so it's June 16th to July 16th is basically the 1 month period where we see the most firework injuries. I know for sure working in the Miami Burn Center, we saw an influx of kids around this time. It's usually like 2 weeks before 4th of July and 2 weeks after, which makes sense, the 1 month period. There's thousands, but nationwide, there's thousands of these kind of injuries. But, we could prevent these injuries, though. We could prevent them. I know we could. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news and be like, don't celebrate 4th of July, ban all fireworks. It's going to happen. People are going to celebrate. I have a couple tips as far as, keep playing it safe and being safe. So the first tip I'm going to give you is the person that's lighting the fireworks should be sober and not drunk, right?
Right.
So intoxication and alcohol is usually the culprit in all, traumatic injuries. Secondly, have one designated area in the middle of the street or wherever you're lighting fireworks to display fireworks. What happens is you start in this designated area and then you get these rogue circles in other areas of your neighborhood where people are lighting fireworks on their own and nobody's watching them, and the kid or the child wanders to that circle and they get injured.
That's right.
You definitely want to keep, so this is the one of the main ones right now is you want to keep children and spectators at a safe distance away from the designated area. So for me, in my neighborhood, I live I'm in South Florida. I'm not going to disclose where I live, but but we basically my neighbors and I we're like in the front porch of my house while they're lighting fireworks in the middle of the street. And then you could also have a barrier too. You could have, line up your cars back to back to back. So there's a barrier between the fireworks and the spectators or your kids.
Yeah.
Because
you don't need a bottle rocket going rogue on you.
Yeah, you get one of those mortars that tip over, which is a malfunction in ignition, and they just go straight horizontally to your crowd. And that's where you have a lot of these injuries, eye injuries, blast injuries, things like that. The cheapest way, this right here is going to help everybody. Buy 2 buckets. This is kind of like my this is American Burn Association kind of recommendation, but always have a source of water if you're lighting fireworks nearby. So I say buy 2 buckets, right? So the first bucket is going to be for those fireworks that don't light, that you think it's like a dud.
Yeah.
What happens is people go to relight it, and it basically, that's how, it goes off prematurely, or like, they don't know. So recommendation, if it doesn't light, just dump it in the water and dispose of it in the bucket, right? The second bucket, right? The second bucket, or, a water hose nearby, is for medical treatment. So, we teach in the Burn Center, we teach a very advanced course called Advanced Burn Life Support, and very basic principles. When somebody's burning, what's the first thing you do? You got to stop the burning process, right? So we use water. So that second bucket of water or that hose that's nearby can help you kind of stop the burning process if somebody does get injured. And you can buy them at Home Depot for like $2.99 or something like that.
Yeah, that's something easy to do to be prepared. That I wouldn't have thought. I mean, maybe one for the fireworks, but I don't think of one anticipating an injury.
You want to avoid fireworks in brown paper bags. Those are usually for professionals, so you want to be careful with that. Obviously, never allow your children to handle fireworks, especially which fireworks.
Talk to me about sparklers because we all think this is the safe one for kids, but
yeah. So I think there's a false sense of security with sparklers. I kind of been guilty of this with my son when he was smaller, and like when I was less experienced in the Burn Center. You're at a barbecue, you're at a celebration, you give your kid a sparkler, they kind of go to the other side of the house or the other side of the barbecue, and you continue on, enjoying yourself. Well, sparklers are actually super dangerous. They burn at like 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, right? It's almost as hot. It's almost as hot as a blowtorch, So if we worked in some kind of industrial factory where people are like doing kind of industrial work, if we were employees of this industrial factory, per OSHA regulations, we would need to wear eye goggles and gloves in order to kind of deal with this kind of heat. And we're just like readily just giving it to our kids. You know what I mean? Here you go, play with this. So we see a lot of
letting them chase each other with it.
Yeah, poke each other. You know what I mean? I think I've done that a couple times. But kids, palms of their hands, their skin is a lot thinner than adults, and so it's very sensitive. So when they burn their skin in their hands, They can cause second and third degree burns, and if they don't get properly treated, they can lose the functionality in their hands. And so we see these injuries in the burn center a lot, and they're totally preventable. You know, you can let your kids play with sparklers, but we recommend, you supervising them. And then immediately when they go out, bucket of water. All right. So, any questions?
We'll see if our audience has anything. I have a question. Anything else I love just the reminder of creating a barrier, of course, staying back, having one designated person. I think that's good, because sometimes it can be like, who's on first, who's doing the fireworks, everyone's got one. So that's helpful. But anything else that families should kind of think of in terms of like do's and don'ts just for fireworks? I think you've covered it all, but it's great.
I think just stay safe, kind of come up with a game plan before. Watch your kids. It always comes down to adult supervision, and then you could prevent, somebody being injured, or losing a hand. I mean, some of the saddest things is in my career, people, when they meet me and they're intrigued with the medical field, they always ask me, okay, what's the worst thing you've seen? And that's a very personal question. And unfortunately, it's always, kids that come into the burn center. With missing hands. I mean, you're not supposed to be a 3-year-old and I'm putting an IV in you, to give you antibiotics and to give you pain medication because you blew off your hands. Very sad. So, but totally preventable. So watch your kids this 4th of July, because this 4th of July, things are going to be a little bit crazier. So, expect the worst and, and anticipate the worst. So that way you can, prevent, bad injury.
Awesome. Before we move on to water safety and things, I want you, Louis, talk to us about just like parents, maybe in this season, it's difficult, and maybe sometimes people are leaving their children at home unattended.
Yeah.
Can you talk about areas like inside or outside of the home that parents should worry about, like their kids potentially getting burned?
Yeah, you're right. You bring up a good topic. Before I get into the house, we're going to talk about 2 topics outside of the house, right? So,
perfect.
So real quick, barbecues, right? You want to have a kid-free zone. Some of the literature says 3 feet. I say 6 feet, right, around the barbecue. All right. Obviously, propane is very, very flammable. You can have propane injuries. But if the kid touches the top of that barbecue, whatever the temperature is inside the barbecue, it's on the outside, so you can get some contact burns there for the kids. Definitely don't allow kids within a certain perimeter of barbecuing. The second thing, which is actually something really, like I learned about this maybe about 5 years ago. I didn't know it existed, and I live in South Florida. I was raised here. Is the garden hose, like just the regular home garden hose. I didn't know that, when there's water inside the garden hose and it's just kind of sitting outside and cooking for all day long, and the temperature outside is 95 degrees in Miami or in Broward, so that basically, that's boiling water almost. It's almost like boiling the water inside the hose. And so what happens is people unknowingly, sometimes even parents, while they're turning it on, they're pointing it at their kid or their animal, and it comes out at 150 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow.
So an adult, 150 degrees, it takes about 10 seconds for their skin to kind of be damaged. For a young child, it could take 3 to 5 seconds for their thin skin to be burnt, right? So they can have 2nd or 3rd degree. So basically, this is a scald injury. We see it in the Miami Burn Center. It isn't that often, but it's something that to be aware of. Basically, we recommend before you point the hose at anybody, make sure you run the water for a little bit, so that way, and always test the water before you spray somebody.
Wow, that's good. I don't always think about that. And I'm guilty of, my toddler will say, let's go water the garden, and she'll hold the end of the hose and I'll go turn it on. And it's like, I don't know, she's not holding it. No, that's a really good one to be aware of.
Yeah. So, all right. So now we discussed real quick barbecue and the garden hose. Now we're going to go inside the house. So I don't know if you know this, Sierra, or Jimena, the 2 most dangerous rooms in the house. Does anybody know? It's the kitchen.
I want to say kitchen.
Yeah, you're right. So
okay, kitchen.
Yeah, the kitchen accounts for 40% of all home fires are caused in the kitchen and by cooking, right? The second most dangerous room in the house is your bathroom, right? So, and you're like, man, your bathroom, I'm taking a shower. What's so dangerous about that? So the bathroom, usually people, I'm sorry, not usually, but when kids get burned, it's usually because they were unsupervised, right? So we always recommend, make sure you supervise your kid in the bathroom. Make sure you never leave them alone. Make sure you don't turn on the hot water first and then walk away and it's like a bathtub full of like hot water. And the kids are attracted to water. So what do? They jump in, right? And so then we see those kids come in with second, third degree burns at times.
Wow.
So it's very dangerous. And actually, I don't know if you knew this, but the Consumer Product Safety Commission, they recommend your home water heater to be set at 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Some people like to modify it. Some people like to leave it where it's already set at. So sometimes it's at 140 degrees. And remember, remember the garden hose was 140 to 150 degrees. So if they accidentally touch that water, they could be burned instantly. So we recommend 120 degrees, and that's pretty safe for children. But if they're in it if they're in that hot water for a long period of time, they still can suffer suffer burns. Obviously you want to check the temperature before.
Mm-hmm. I have a question, Louis, something I honestly just thought about. I see a lot of people or have friends, I'm guilty of this too, where sometimes I'll leave my hair dryer plugged in on my vanity. And now I'm like, I don't do it anymore because I had one scare because one time my son, he just loves to turn the bathtub water on. And I thought, oh my goodness, like all he has to do is like put the two together. Like that's just, for me, it was like this flash warning. But do you see things like that?
We do see some electrocutions from kids, putting in appliances in the water while it's still plugged in. But that's parenting. That's a lot of education for parents and teaching them like not to leave things plugged in, or not even plug it in the bathroom. Maybe do it outside of the bathroom.
Yeah.
So moving on. So we talked about the bathroom, right? So now let's talk about the kitchen. The kitchen is danger zone, right? My wife, when she cooks, I mean, everybody here, since I'm in the trauma world, everybody, like, I'm always talking, I always know what can happen. So I'm always like talking about preventive measures, especially my kids and my wife is, she's part of the program. She's game as well. When we're cooking in the kitchen, it's a kid-free zone, right? Yeah. It's, we set a barrier when we have anything on the stove, anything in the oven, we want to prevent scald injuries. We want to prevent thermal injuries, contact injuries. So like I said, each year, so 40% of all home fires are caused by cooking, right? Mm-hmm. We teach kids, if the fire gets out of control, if the fire gets out of control, you want to get out, stay out, and call 911. This is for home fires. And then we want to teach the kids also, don't return inside for any reason. We have this it's one of the highlights of my career. It's a public education children's fire safety fair. We do it with multiple public education, people that are part of EMS, City of Miami, Miami-Dade. Some of them are on this chat right now. And we basically taken about 2,000 elementary school kids, and we do interactive, interactive sessions, teaching sessions with them. We teach them about the kitchen safety, bathroom safety, stop, drop, and roll, things like that. We have it in February, and we have one coming up. It's for Fire Prevention Week in October, and that's also with the EMS public education officials. Anyway, so like I said, some things to do. You make sure you want to turn the pot handles when you're cooking on the stove. Turn them inwards, because when they're hanging out like that, kids, they're curious. They're very touchy. They just want to grab it. Whatever's in the pot's going to fall right on top of them, right? And that goes for coffee. I know it's Miami. We like to have our Cuban coffee, our colada. We cook it on the stove. Kids, they see that handle and they want to grab it and they get burns. So we want to prevent that as well. If you do have, if you're frying something, right, and and the grease catches fire, don't run away with the grease fire, because some of that grease will fall on your arms, and grease is very, very hot and it sticks and it burns for a long time. So we recommend you turn off the source of heat and you basically put a lid on it. You know what I mean? So those are some of the preventive measures in the kitchen. And obviously, use spill-proof cups. Be careful with the coffee cups, and don't use like mugs without a top on it, because it could spill over and and burn the child. We get one of the most common injuries for pediatrics, pediatric burns, is due to coffee and like hot liquids and stuff like that.
Wow, yeah, kids getting into the coffee. That makes sense. Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
they shouldn't be drinking coffee so early and at such an early age.
That's right. That's right. Keep away from the coffee.
So just
Talk to us.
okay.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to say, talk to us quickly if we do find ourselves in the situation where our child is burned,
Mhm.
and maybe we're like, is it bad enough to go? I don't
Yeah,
know. Like, I mean, it's always safe to go, and we can go
yeah,
to the burn center, correct?
yeah. I always err on over triaging and over treating. If you're unaware, if you're not sure, seek medical attention. If it's serious, call 911. Go to your closest ER. You don't necessarily have to come to the burn center. Go to the closest ER if it is serious. And we have a lot of collaborations and partnerships with multiple hospitals in South Florida, and they will refer if it's bad enough. They will refer or consult our burn surgeons, and we'll make the connection. And if you have to come over to us, they'll bring you over. But as far as like burn basics, the first thing is you want to cool the burn or you want to stop the burning process, right? Remember that water bucket outside?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's right.
and then after you get burned, if your kid has any bracelets, any watches, any jewelry, you want to actually remove that jewelry, because sometimes the area affected or the arm will swell up, and then you can have like somebody's ring stuck on their finger, and
Oh,
that can
yeah.
cause more problems.
Okay.
And then you want to cover the area with some dry sheets, a towel, something like that. We don't recommend putting any like home remedies. Like usually we hear of like mayonnaise and toothpaste. We refrain from making those recommendations. So we do ask you that afterwards you need to seek medical attention though. You can either come to the Miami Burn Center, walk in our doors, call 305-585-BURN, and we'll be happy to help you. Of course, we don't want to see you get injured or hurt or burned, but we want to be the ones to take care of you.
That's right. Yeah. This is such good, helpful information. And some of it, I'll say, like,
It's a lot.
growing up, we hear about stop, drop, and roll. We hear about fire safety, and it's kind of like, yeah, we've heard this our whole life. But now as a parent, it's like you just see these things through a new light, because here we are raising little people who we're having to reinforce those things with them. So thank you for that, Liz. That's good. Talk to us about some water safety. Can we transition to water safety?
Yeah. These are very special times. We could sit here and talk about drowning safety, water safety, and go into a whole lecture that takes like 2 hours. And there's a lot of topics, but more importantly, I think these are special times. Kids are home, right? Kids are home. They're bored. They don't know they don't know what else to do. So people that have pools, people that have access to water, kids are gonna start getting curious and start wandering off. So we want to be, again, it always boils down to adult supervision. So, one of the things though, one of the facts that I just found very remarkable specifically for this time is that since the beginning of March 2020, 12 children in the state have died from drowning, and a lot of people don't notice, but Florida leads the country in drowning deaths of children's ages 1 to 4. And that's been like that for many years. I know that at one point Miami was #1 for for child drowning deaths. But I think Broward might have taken over that spot for multiple years in a row. Swim lessons for children under 4 can decrease the likelihood of drowning by 88%. So this is just more reinforcement to get your kids swimming lessons. But now I know that we're in this like COVID time, and people are instructed to wear masks, to prevent the spread of the virus. So how do we get swim lessons and things like that? I reached out to one of my contacts specifically from Miami-Dade County, Jim O'Connor. He's the aquatic safety coordinator for Miami-Dade County pools and things like that. Right now, their programs are pretty much on hold just because the swim lessons need to be done in the water. And, they can't wear the masks in the water, so they're pretty much on hold. Right. So this is why we want to reinforce adult supervision. We want to reinforce, some other measures. The Miami-Dade County Drowning Prevention Coalition, I have a couple colleagues that are part of that coalition, and, they promote the Safer 3 concept. So one of the first, barriers is basically safer water, right? 4th of July is coming up, barbecues, we're going to be partying. Sometimes this is a recipe for disaster because everybody's distracted. They're talking, with their friends, their family, and the kid, a child sneaks out into the pool and, drowns. So this is on a website called watersmartflorida.org. excuse me. And this is basically, you could print this at home. It's a tag, right? It's like a lanyard. You could put like a little string on it, and you have a designated water watcher who's sober and not drunk. And, you know, they need to like vouch to you. They're not going to be distracted on their phone, and they're basically watching the water. I know that you could kind of like rent a lifeguard also. I don't have any information on that right now, but I definitely am looking like into kind of learning more about that. You know, and that's also another option. You know, you have, you know, the entire party, you have a lifeguard there watching the pool, which is good.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good, because I feel like, you know, often you think there's more people than like, oh, we're safer because more adults are around. But oftentimes you can be less safe because more people's, everyone kind of takes on this diffusion of responsibility. Like, well, they're watching. Oh, they're watching. And then before you know it, no one's watching. But having someone who's like a designated water watcher, and I love the idea of wearing something that designates them, because that also holds everyone else accountable to hold them accountable. You know, like if you see them distracted, to bring, you know, help draw their attention back. I think this is great. This is, I mean, life-saving.
You know, somebody told me that in South Florida, everybody knows somebody that knows somebody that has a child that drowned, which is a crazy statistic. You know, like it's unbelievable. You know, I know personally like 2 people that have had kids that have drowned. One of them was fatal. One of them, you know, didn't recover. So as far as safer water, besides the water watcher, also one of the big things is you never want to rely on floaties. Again, that's a false sense of security. And then this is like one of the big ones right here. Well, my predecessor at the Ryder Trauma Center was a lady named Cindy Magnoli. She was phenomenal injury prevention specialist. She always talked about removing the toys and the inflatables from the pool after you're done using the pool. Because what happens is, the kids, you know, after the pool's done, you know, they're inside, they're bathed, they look outside the window, they see their toys in the pool, they want to go back out into the pool, right, to get those toys. So you don't want to give them a reason to go out to the pool, right? So that, to me, that's a very, very important fact to like, just to know, or a nice barrier to use. And then you can install a fence as well.
Yeah. Louis, will you speak a little bit to like secondary drowning? I know that's something I just recently learned about, and I thought, wow, having little ones, I just had no idea. And also what drowning looks like, because the movies tells us they're screaming, help, help me, I'm drowning. And it's just, it's not that way, right?
Yeah. You know, there's a campaign that says it could happen in a splash, because literally all you hear is a splash, and you just think it's a normal splash. They dove in, and then they're in the bottom of the water, basically drowning. You know, there's a couple of myths. There's dry drowning, and then there's the secondary drowning. You know, some of these terms kind of get used very loosely. For the most part, some of the research that I've done and just my knowledge base is dry drowning basically is, you know, when somebody drowns, or, you know, when the child goes under the water, when their head goes underneath the water and they take on some water, right? And it, you know, basically touches their vocal cords. It's an automatic reflex. Their throat basically goes into like a laryngeal spasm, so it closes up. So basically, no water gets into their lungs. So, you know, no water, no air, obviously. And so basically, that's what they call it, a dry drowning. The secondary drowning is something that basically, when they do get water in their lungs, a couple days later, they could present with some symptoms, because they're having difficulty breathing, because there's water inside their lungs, and they get what's called pulmonary edema. For a child, it could be terrible. So we always recommend, you know, if you should seek medical attention if your kid starts developing a fever, difficulty breathing, you know, is not acting right, very lethargic, is not going to play with his brother or his sister. You know, you should seek medical treatment immediately. You can go to your closest ER, your pediatrician, and things like that. That's good. So that's pretty much like secondary drowning.
Okay, thank you.
You know, so as far as, you know, some of the other barriers, like I said, the safer 3, it's safer water, safer kids, you know, talk to your kids, teach them. A safer response is the big one, is, you know, early CPR and early rescue for the kids. If somebody does drown, one of the most important barriers is somebody rescuing them, right? Responding and knowing how to do CPR appropriately, you know, because CPR does improve outcomes, and it's a very important learning strategy to help save lives, pretty much. So moving outside of the pool, I know we're for the sake of time, I'll briefly touch up on this, but we're out in the water. We're this is South Florida, right? There's, I don't want to say salt life, but it's basically there's a lot of access to lakes and the waters and just having fun, just boating and jet skiing and things like that. Some of the things we do see in the trauma center specifically is a lot of propeller injuries. So South Florida gets has a high amount of people that actually make contact with the propellers of their boats. And those are very gruesome injuries. They cause a lot of soft tissue damage. These patients usually die, excuse me, from bleeding at the scene. So, we tell people when you park up, put the prop up, right? So when they park their boats up in a sandbar or whatever, make sure they put their engine or their prop up. Remove the ignition remove the key from the ignition. And again, adult supervision of your kids, of other people, because it also happens to adults, obviously. And then, it's one of the most common causes for this injury is operator inexperience, incompetence, negligence, and then alcohol. Alcohol is always number one across the board. So as far as some training for your moms, like for your followers, Sierra, that they could take, it's a free training. It's called Stop the Bleed. This might help them if they do come across this kind of situation. It basically teaches them how to apply pressure to a wound that's bleeding, right? Apply pressure. They could pack the wound with a towel, a shirt, anything. And also it teaches them how to use a tourniquet. So they would need a tourniquet, like a combat application tourniquet. It's a free class we offered in the trauma center. So I would definitely teach your platform. I would invite your platform, your followers to come to the trauma center, all mothers, all parents, grandparents, and we could teach you this class for free. It's part of our outreach for the trauma center.
Awesome. No, that's wonderful. That's wonderful news. Louis, so much good stuff. We could stay here, like you said, all night.
I know.
Wrap us up with
on.
some bike safety, because nothing drives me more bonkers than seeing kids on their bikes wearing their helmets like a baseball cap. Like it's not locked. It's just sitting there. Like, what is that even going to do for them?
Yeah, I know. So, Florida has been in the top 3 in bike and pedestrian fatalities every year since 2001. So we have a lot of bicycle injuries here. That could be attributed to bad driving. It could be the cyclists. I always say for kids don't have that kind of reaction that adults do. They don't have that defensive mechanism. I read somewhere that their field of view of their vision is actually more narrow than adults. So their peripheral vision is not as sharp as ours, which all contributes to them not seeing a car coming. So you want to prevent traumatic brain injury in young adults, especially the kids, our children. My kids are always riding the bike. They always have their helmet on. Just a couple months ago, my daughter just learned how to ride a bike, and she was going so fast and she fell. She had her helmet on and her helmet hit that pavement so hard. And so imagine if she didn't have that helmet on. So it was like, imagine I'm a trauma nurse, burn nurse, and I have all this experience, and I'm like, I see this happen. I was like, thank God she had the helmet. Thank God. And young cyclists are more likely than adults to die from head injuries, which is, pretty crazy. So you want to get a properly fitting helmet. I won't go through how to fit the helmet for the sake of time, but I don't know if I have a picture, and I'm going to show you. This is a paid actress. Her name is Emily. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. She's my daughter. So the right way, obviously the green check mark represents the right way to wear a helmet. You want it to fit nice, right? Kind of the teaching when we fit bicycle helmets on young adults and adults is you want to put 2 fingers above their eyebrow. There should be a space 2 fingers above the eyebrow where the helmet meets your fingers, and then also 2 fingers from your chin to the chin strap, right? It shouldn't be so tight though. But if they open their mouth like this, it should tighten up and it should be nice and form-fitting. And then so the picture on the right basically was how my daughter wears it sometimes when I catch her. It's basically loose. It's you can see her whole forehead is exposed. It's not even buckled. And that sometimes you got to make sure you watch your kids because they like to wear it like this because it's cool. and it's more
That's
comfortable,
cool.
but it's completely the wrong way to wear the helmet, and it's ineffective. As soon as they fall off the bike or get hit by a car, it'll go flying off their helmet. I mean, it'll go flying off their head, and then they'll have, they'll suffer a traumatic brain injury. So we want to prevent that. And that's it
Right.
for me, I think. I mean, I could go here. I could talk about more stuff. I mean, you want me to talk about, like, the craziest stuff I saw in the trauma center? I mean,
We do, but
but I
I'm
know,
like, I need to prepare my stomach probably, so
no,
maybe not
yeah, yeah. I have a
tonight.
lot of pictures,
But
but
if
Jimena's next, and Jimena is a wealth of resources with the Children's Trust, and I'll let her take it from there.
That's right. And those of you that are listening, if you follow Lewis, he's the trauma guy on Instagram. You can get all the stuff that'll make your stomach turn. He's got all that there for you. Thank you, Lewis, for your expertise. We're so excited, Jimena, to have you here. Talking about all these precautionary measures, we're really transitioning now and saying, okay, so things are different this summer. Maybe there's no camp, maybe there's no fireworks, just getting out to maybe your community pool isn't even possible. How can we still have a fun, productive summer? And so the Children's Trust has amazing resources that are going to help us create a fun summer bucket list. So Jimena, tell us more about the Children's Trust and Stay Home at Miami.
Perfect. Definitely, Sierra. Give me 1 second. Let me share my screen really quick.
Great.
And please let me know if,
yeah, and guests who are watching, if at any minute you have a question, just remember you can utilize that Q&A box and we will do our best to get those answered.
Perfect. Can you see the blue screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So thank you so much, Sierra. I'm very excited to be here today. As you mentioned, I work for the Children's Trust. I've been with the Children's Trust for 1.5 years. And I'm very excited to be here with you. And as you mentioned, it's going to be a tricky summer for the children. We want to make sure that they stay safe. Me personally, I'm also a mom. The way that I've raised my child is I've been always staying away from electronic devices. I didn't have any phones, like games on my phones, and like now working from home, they're like really stuck on devices. So I've been personally struggling with that. But we want to make sure that if they're on devices or they're doing activities, at least it's something that is, it's fun, but it's also kind of like, educational for them. So at the Children's Trust, we did something very interesting for that. But before I go that, I actually wanted to ask, the participants here that we have today, I want to get a sense how many people have heard about the Children's Trust. So I don't know if the participants can type yes, no. It's okay if it's no, because today you're gonna find out about the Children's Trust.
Yeah, I'm excited to see too. It's a great resource. You're doing a lot of amazing things in our community. We thank you for that.
Oh, thank you very much. So
awesome. It looks like a lot of people have, so that's great.
Awesome. That's great. So for those who don't know, the Children's Trust is a dedicated source of revenue from property taxes, and we were established by a voter referendum back in 2002. So what do? We partner with the community to plan, advocate, and fund strategic investments to improve the lives of children and families in Miami-Dade County. Why do we do it? Because we truly believe that every child deserves the chance to reach their full potential. So we want to make sure that all children in our county, they have the same opportunity, same quality of childcare, summer camps, everything. So we are there to support the families. So as you know, back in March, we were all, our lives were turned upside down, and we needed to find a way to help the families in the community. It was a drastic change for everybody. So within 2 weeks, and I'm very proud to say this, within 2 weeks, we launched stayhome.miami. It's an online platform that it centralizes free educational and fun content for children of all the ages, helping families to cope during the challenge times that we were currently facing. With Stay Home Miami, we wanted to tell the families that we are in this together. And even though we're still going through tough times, we always want to make sure that we stay on the positive side of life. It's really hard when you have a child and all these conflict and challenges are happening around you, and how can you kind of like protect them, right? You don't want to bring all that stress to them. So we created Stay Home. This is a home to a total of 20 modules. We have free activities for all ages. It is available in 2 languages, in Spanish and in English. And so today, as you mentioned, what I want to do is I want to share this platform with the participants that we have. I want to walk you through the platform, show you a little bit what resources we have at Stay Home. And that way we can all build, our own bucket list depending on, the interest that each of the child have. So
Perfect.
the first thing, when you go to a Stay Home Miami, the first activity that you're gonna find is Battle of the Book. So what best thing to put first on your bucket list? One, read a book. The Children's Trust, for us at the Children's Trust, literacy is very important for children to support their literacy. And Battle of the Books, it's a great initiative. So it's a contest that is currently happening right now, and it's free. Everything that you find here in Stay Home Miami is absolutely free for the families. So what do?
Love it.
You register. So in case you don't have, or the families, they don't have a public library card, you can click here and get your e-card. And then this contest is for children between grades kindergarten and 5th grade. So depending on the grade that they are, you download a book, you download the activities that it comes with the book. So what you do is you get your e-card, download the book, read the book, the children complete the activities, and then you register for the final battle. This final battle is actually on July 9th. It's gonna be it's live. It's gonna be very exciting. We have prizes. The kids are gonna be able to participate and battle each other. We can send some prizes we send pizza parties to their houses. We have tickets to
games.
Some of the NBA, I won't spoil that. Some NBA celebrities might pop up. So we're we are very excited about Battle of the Book. So I totally recommend. This is definitely one item to put on your to-do list. So what else can we do? How about a talent show? So we actually have a free talent show at Stay Home Miami.
Cool.
It's in partnership with Actors Playhouse. We are on our 10th season. And this one, it's the first time that we are doing it virtual. I think it's the first time for a lot of organizations and initiatives to do virtual. But this is open for all children in Miami-Dade County between the ages of 8 and 17 years. They can participate in 6 individual categories or 3 group categories. And basically what you have to do is you go here, you sign up at Actors Playhouse, and then you submit your video audition. Then every 2-3 weeks, a group of judges, they meet and they go they review all the auditions and they notify who made it to the semifinals. The semifinals are gonna be at the end of August, and then the finals, we're gonna live stream them on September 13th. And we have really cool prizes. They are scholarships. There's a $500 cash prize. And also the big prize is courtesy of WSBN. And it's, COVID permit, but it's airfare, hotel, and tickets to go to the Teen Choice Awards in LA.
Cool. All these teenagers need to put their TikTok videos to good use and audition.
No, and it's amazing because all these, they do so amazing. And we have so many activities throughout the year. There's one participant, her last name is skipping my mind, but it's Angelina. She won Young Talent Be Dreams. She was in the finals of America's Got Talent.
Wow,
so
cool.
Participating in this talent show is really a springboard for them. We awesome. Invite a lot of the participants to our own events. And it also, even if you don't make it far, just the fact, the confidence that it gives you,
That's
just
right.
there and be judged and take that, that feedback, it really helps, their confidence, their self-esteem. So it is definitely great.
That's right. Jimena, a quick question about the Battle of the Books.
Yes.
Is there anything for children like younger age, maybe a lower reading level, or parents can read to them, or do you recommend the book club for that?
So for younger kids, we have the book club. We don't have a module in Stay Home Miami, but if you go to thechildrenstrust.org, we're actually launching the new book club. So parents can register their children from birth until their 5th birthday. You go to the website, thechildrenstrust.org, you go for the book club, and you can register to receive every single month for free, mailed at your house, a book either or English or Spanish, you choose. And the book comes with a content guide that is, it's created for that age group. So we have 5 age groups, right? Birth, 1 year, 2, 3, and 4 year olds. Every month, the book for those 5 age groups is completely different. And every month you receive a new book. So for example, if you enroll your child when they're born, by the time that they turn 5, they have a collection of 60 books.
That's amazing. You've built them a library, which is such an incredible gift for free, for total free.
For free. And then you can switch. One of the other things that we promote is, the bilingual component. So you can manage your account and you can switch to English and then you can switch to Spanish. So I really encourage everybody to enroll. We launched the new book club right now. Our first mailing out is going to be in July, mid-July. So make sure, all the participants, they go register. That way they can receive the books also on July.
Great. So it's not too late, mamas.
No.
That's great. A lot of our attendees are saying, we do that. Our family does that. It's so great. So wonderful.
It is beautiful because actually some of the books, they come with activity guides related to the book. So if it's a spider, right? So it comes with a guide that you cut the spider and you do this kind of like, activity with the kids. It's about developing the love for reading, but it's also about that togetherness time, right? To spend 20 minutes reading to your child and kind of like help them, get this love and passion for reading.
That's right. That's great.
So now that we're talking about reading, we have 2 modules in Study Home Miami. One, it's read aloud books. So this one is really cool because actually a lot of, we reach out, and the beautiful thing about this project is how a lot of organizations came together and they provided free content for the families. This one was courtesy of a Storyline Online. And these are read aloud books done by celebrities. And
we love this in our house. We do this all the time. I love this module.
Cute. So this one, as you mentioned, for the little ones, we can do this one. Or there's also another module that we have here, the audiobooks. So if you click here to audible.com, it will take you directly to a place where you have all free audible books for all age groups. And as I mentioned, one of the things what we really wanted to, accomplish with Stay Home Miami was, put together all these free resources for the families, because sometimes, and I found myself, social media, like, oh, I remember that comment and somebody shared this, and like, but it's like, where do you have all the information together? So
that's right.
Another beautiful, another area is art. So we talk about reading. Another area that we have is art. So if you scroll to the bottom of Stay Home Miami, we have one that is really cool, and it's called Inspiring Rocks. So you can go to the backyard with your kids, or you can go for a walk around the neighborhood, around the house, and collect rocks, and you can paint them. So you can just paint them. Make sure that you follow the Children's Trust. Make sure you tag us and you use Stay Home, hashtag Stay Home Miami, and we're gonna be displaying the rocks. There we can display all the things that the kids are doing here on the page. So we have this, for example, done at the beach. Definitely, that is something that is beautiful that is related to art. Another module that is somehow related to art, but it's really important, is we have the thank you module. And with the thank you module, we are inviting people, families, to decorate the front window of their house with paper, with thank you hearts, and it's really a gallery to thank the first responders for everything that they're doing, to keep us safe during this time. So that's definitely something, another activity for the afternoon, how we can just create this beautiful collage. You can put on the front of your house. And again, you can take the picture on Instagram, tag the Children's Trust, hashtag Stay Home Miami, and it's gonna come into the feed for this module in particular.
That's great.
So now, another area is sports and dancing. And you're gonna see that we have everything. We have a little bit of everything. We're covering.
Yes, I have to say we love the ballet classes. My daughter, we do the creative movement and the ballet all the time.
So ballet, now that you mentioned ballet, this one was, this content was provided by one of the programs that we fund, Thomas Armour Youth Ballet, and it's beautiful. They provided a lot of free ballet tap dance classes, and they actually have a contest also going on. So if you record, you make a video of your child doing, one of these dance moves, and you upload it, Thomas Armour Youth Ballet is giving a 200 gift certificate for classes with them.
Cool.
So it is a beautiful and it's a really fun module. The other one that we have with sports related, and this one we have one thanks to the US Soccer Foundation. So we have Soccer for Success at Home. Here, parents, for those who have children that love soccer, or maybe, why don't we, like, we're talking about a bucket list, so why don't we just try a new sport, right?
That's right.
So you can here you can, practice how you can do some drills at home for with soccer, but also thanks to the Miami Marlins, we also have a module for baseball.
Awesome.
So you scroll to the bottom, and
yeah.
we have here. We have Billy the Marlin. Obviously, he has always, and he's always there. The Marlins, they have different resources that they provide, free for the families. So people can actually download a free coloring book. You have word searches that you can do. But then here you have different videos and tips about, like what are you interested about baseball, like pitching or hitting. So you kind of like, you keep digging and navigating this module in particular, and it has more content for the families.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about art, reading, sports. So there is one with music. And this one is also, it was provided by one of the programs that we fund, is Miami Music Project. And here they provided some videos, kind of like, to see, you're not gonna buy an expensive instrument until you really know that is what your child wants. So here you can take a peek at some of videos, like instruction classes. But one that I definitely want to put on everybody's bucket list is this one here, that is how to create an instrument with vegetables.
Oh, crazy.
I don't think anybody has ever thought about that. I can see Luis. I think he's going on his bucket list.
That's right. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one.
That one it's a really, really interesting one. So now that we're talking about music, obviously, one of the things everybody knows is Miami. We know Gloria Estefan. Gloria Estefan make a change, an adaptation to her song, and she did a Put On Your Mask song. So we have her song here, and actually it was very touching because once she let us bring her song to the website, she actually sent them a personal message, to a children's trust and to a community. So it was really great to have that from her and having her on board on the project. And then another thing that I think is, anybody goes here, it's so catchy. So Baby Shark, for those who don't know, they did the Wash Your Hands song. And if you listen to that song once, you're gonna be singing all day. But it's really cute. They put some soft da 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 da. And I think also, if like playing this song to the kids, and if you tell them, okay, we're gonna wash our hands, but we're gonna sing the song, it kind of like helps them to spend more time washing their hands.
There you go.
A full way, exactly, to make sure that those hands are clean.
Awesome. Jimena, that's so good. I'm noticing the clock. I just want to let our participants know we want to respect everybody's time here. We're a little bit over 9. So how about Jimena, maybe just like a minute or two more? This is so good. And I'll say, moms, this has been my lifesaver this summer. Moms and dads, parents, about 10 a.m. when you're out of ideas of what to do. I open up the laptop, I set it on the table, and I'm like, let's read a book. Let's watch a video. Let's do a ballet class. There's just a wealth of information here. So this is amazing. Thank you, Jimena.
So I'll tell you, and yes, we want to be very mindful and respectful of everybody's time. And thank you for, everybody to be here with us. Another one that I want to invite, and this one is critical because we're running out of them. So Romero Brito, he created his own coloring book. and he allowed us, or he brought it to Stay Home Miami. So you can actually download it and print it, but you can, or you can also order it if you live in Miami-Dade County, and we'll mail it to your house for free. So make sure
Wow.
that you order your coloring books, because it's absolutely beautiful before we run out of them. It's been really, really cute.
And then
Another
let's
thing,
talk about the adults. We need some coloring therapy. I think this is a good thing for the adults too.
oh, you mentioned the parents, and we have the parent club. It's an initiative from the Children's Trust. Before COVID-19, is free workshop for parents, from positive parenting, how to raise resilient children. So those workshops, we turn them into a virtual workshop. So if you go to the parent club module, right here, you can register to go to the free workshops. This is in partnership with 3 organizations: Be Strong, FIU, and the University of Miami. And then also, if you continue in this page, you're gonna find hot topic videos, right? About, for example, tips for parenting during COVID-19, how to manage the stress, how screen time, snacking, right? Like, we're working here, but they're watching TV and snacking. So I totally recommend parents really put on your bucket list to go to one of our parenting workshops. You're gonna love them. They're very, very helpful. And that said, I wanted to, maybe, I don't know if the participants, they want to share with us a little bit, what is like your, which ones are going on your bucket list? I'm interested to know.
Yes, I am too. And so many people have creative ideas as well. So share those in the comments. And then also let's take 2 minutes. So what's that? 120 seconds. I'm going to really time us. Let's do a rapid fire. If anyone has just a couple questions for Jimena or Luis, we'll do our best to kind of rapid fire those. This is such a great resource. I will say Miami Moms Blog has partnered with the Children's Trust to share these great resources, and we have gotten such an amazing response from our audience of how helpful it is. And again, personally, I'm using this resource almost daily in our home. So thank you for that. And making it all available for free is just over the top amazing. We're super thankful. So Jimena, thank you. And the Children's Trust, we're grateful. I will say I want to make one plug as well, Luis. I keep saying Luis, I'm sorry, Miami, so Luis. Luis was speaking about swim lessons and how imperative that is. And it is a challenging time because some places are not able to host swim lessons. Some are. We have a great resource on MiamiMomsBlog.com. If you go there, MiamiMomsBlog.com, click the resources tab, you'll see a swim schools guide. So there's a guide to tons of swim schools in Miami. Many of them are still hosting lessons safely one-to-one. So hopefully that can be a resource for those of you who are looking something for your children. Jimena, one question, someone said, how long does it take to receive your first book after signing up for the book club? And if they missed the July sign up, can they sign up in August?
Yes, so you can sign up at any point. Just make sure if you try to sign up before the end of the month, because usually like either the last day of the month or the first day of the month, we pull that list and we mail out. So
Awesome.
try to enroll before the end of the month. That way you will receive it the following month. If for any chance you enroll, it will be the following month.
Gotcha. So everybody needs to sign up now to get your July book. So hurry. We've got a few more days. Awesome. Well, this has just been such a great time. Again, thank you everyone who has joined us and hung with us a couple minutes after. I just want to remind you all that if you missed the last time we gathered 2 weeks ago, we spoke about COVID-19 and summer transition, all kinds of questions about the beach, the pool, mask wearing for kids, all of that. You can go and go back and watch that one at jacksonevents.org, as well as there's great downloadable tips and resources. This talk as well will be available there in just a couple days, so you can share that with your friends if you thought it was a good resource. Also, mark your calendars to join us July 9th. That's a Thursday, so we're doing these every other Thursday, July 9th for our next episode of the Summer to School series. And we're going to be talking about urgent care versus the ER, when to go and where to go. Because I know as parents, it's like, ugh, at what point is it ER worthy or is it just urgent care? So we're going to have some professionals here to tell us. But thank you again. One more quick question, Jimena. Do you have to be a Dade County resident? Is that correct to receive the book club, right?
I was actually answering to that question. So
okay,
yes,
good. Awesome.
By the Children's Trust is in Miami-Dade County only.
Awesome. Great. Well, again, just thank you everyone for listening in, and we're going to sound here for just a couple seconds, but you guys can sign off, and thank you so much. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you, Jimena, and thank you to our guests, and thank you, of course, to UHealth Jackson Children's Care for hosting us tonight.
Thank you very much for having us.